Beautiful.
Okay.
Michelle, thank
Check
you.
participants.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Sorry to bother you.
You're not bothering me.
Where's participants? Participants.
Yep, it seems out there.
Waiting room.
Helen's
Yeah.
out there.
Invite.
You should, yep.
How many people does it take to get us onto Zoom?
Maybe the clerk should write down, John, what did we just do?
We know that it's 05048.
05048, we're not forgetting that. And the guest Wi-Fi works fine.
Do I have to hit one of these? More choices.
David Dubshire.
Vote people. It's a meeting.
Ask them about the keys too.
Three people entered the waiting view. Okay. David and Helen.
Okay.
Helen's on twice. I can't hear him.
All right, is everybody there? Is David there?
Yeah, David was on here.
He's on here, but I don't know if they're inside the recording, but I don't know that they're inside the room.
Can you invite him?
Yeah?
Yeah, we got the invite.
All right, let's see.
See, the invite's blacked out.
I just let him know that we're on. Let's see if he comes back in. Is Helen on?
She was listening too, but I don't see the people anymore.
Okay, come down here to participants.
Just
Yes, the machine was turned off. And, you on. He said will be, so let's see if he comes in.
just a
There,
Oh, there we go.
okay.
Okay, now,
Slide that right out of the way so you can,
Yeah, yeah.
yep. Oh, well, if you can't, go for it.
look at invite now.
Just remember what you did.
Just do them one at a time, I guess.
And can anyone on the Zoom hear us?
You go to the town website, and then you go through it until you find the planning commission. Planning commission, you should find.
Sure can't hear them. You can unmute them, see what happens.
No,
I went directly to the planning commission tonight off of Google.
Yeah.
And there was the meeting tonight in the agenda, but I didn't see anything about it.
okay.
But you think you should go to the town website?
Jay, it's not up there.
I'm sorry,
It's not on the website.
okay.
All right. then. Okay.
Just the heart, that's 2017 plan.
This is 2017, is up.
27.
Hey, guys, can you hear us on the phone?
So leave it there.
See, they're all there.
Oh, he's on, Dave should be there.
He's there. Oh, there you go. Can you hear us, Dave?
I can.
Helen, can you hear us?
Yes, now I can.
Okay, good.
Who else?
Just Helen and,
No, just tell me who else is on,
Yeah.
so I can put it in.
Yeah,
So we got
okay.
Helen,
Helen
And
has
Dave.
and Dave.
that's it?
That's it.
All right, I'm gonna call the meeting to order at 6:47, following some technical difficulties. Let's see. I guess first, are there any adjustments to the agenda? Okay.
Will the communications from TROC fall under the discussion of the MAPS town plan?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think so. All right, so the next thing would be to vote on the minutes from the last meeting. Jay, thanks for submitting those. Has everyone had a chance to read them? Okay, someone want to move that we accept, or are there any
Yes,
changes?
I think Dave Dukeshire attended via Zoom,
Yep.
so that should be added.
Okay.
And then I had a question about the statement that we had made as a commission relative to Sunnymead. Well,
Yeah, we want to add that to the minutes that
we
we,
had made, I think there was a motion, I read the statement near the end of the meeting.
just announcing that we had lost the appeal. That statement,
About the
yeah.
notification.
Yeah.
Do you want me to send you another copy of that?
Sure.
All right, so those two changes, can we take a motion to?
I move
Accept.
we accept.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, the next item is I think we go right into the discussion of the maps and the town plan. So Jay, do you want to take over at this point?
Yeah, have you got a copy of the minutes? Because that's what, I'm gonna run down through the minutes, that most of it is what Kevin sent as his summary, but it wasn't quite in the right form.
Let me interrupt, I'm sorry. We got a notice, did everybody see that Brian is gonna come to our next meeting and that the Two Rivers is gonna send us their updated maps and town plan revisions by next week? So at our next meeting, we'll have Two Rivers final thing. I think they had anticipated having it tonight, but this is a good opportunity because we can at least discuss in the abstract, I think, because we have a preliminary map from them, and Jay's been going over that, so why don't you go ahead.
Okay,
That's what we looked at, what Kevin showed us the last.
Yes,
meeting.
last one, yeah.
I don't know how we want to tackle this. If we want to talk about why their material that they gave us, how it differs from what we did in our draft 2025 town plan. Because if we're going in that direction, to accept some of the things that they've told us already. One of the biggest changes is topic. They changed the topics. Such as, they have resource-based commercial uses, okay? We never used that term before. Boy, it's really hard to sum all this up. essentially, that means that I'm gonna read it straight off here. Commercial uses and any associated structures such as sawmills, quarries, sand pits, outdoor recreation facilities, nurseries, agricultural buildings depend on resources existing, generated, or processed at the site, and may include secondary retail of products entirely produced on the site. So I think that was Two Rivers' way of getting around the Sunnymead issue, because their stuff, or at least produce, wasn't produced on site. That's a supposition on my part that I think, since we never had an opportunity to discuss it with Kevin, I think that was the reason that supposedly they say there's a fix there at the moment.
Right, because he said they had implemented the fix at the trunk level,
Yes, on their level.
on their level.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so is that what we think?
well,
It
so what we would do, instead of having like a commercial district, maybe we're gonna have a resource-based commercial district and incorporate.
Do you have the
different
legend on their map? Because they name the basic districts there, and we can see what their terminology is. Yeah, here it is. So we have village, and then we have rural residential, and then we have rural. What he's proposing is that we expand our rural residential to correspond to the rural general on their map. You stop me if I'm wrong.
Yep, go for it.
All right. And you can see the vast majority of the land in town falls into rural agriculture and forestry, and that would be similar to what we define as rural. And then there's a rural conservation area up by the dam. I think that's probably federal land anyway.
Okay, so let me show people what that is on this map. So these are the new rural general.
Yeah, come on.
And they have a different, that's here. You can see here the legend, okay? Villages are the villages. So these are the villages. That's pretty much they've always been, with the exception of Route 4. That's a different category. So we have village and village and village. And I'm not sure exactly what this is, but if I see it similar in color, I would say they're gonna call, is that Cobb Hill? That's called,
No, there's the village, oh, yeah, he put Cobb Hill in the village. Yeah, and then there's village designated centers, and those are the orange ones. And those correspond to our existing villages, village areas.
like that.
Yes, you can see it better on the insets. There's one up by Tate there, in the back corner, for North Hardin. We'll push, yeah, there you go.
okay, so that's one distinction. You wanna go on to the next one, rural, agricultural, and forestry.
Right, and that's where, that would correspond to what we have defined in our town, in our description in the proposed town plan as rural. So it would have the same kind of restrictions.
Well, but in which case, not exactly the same. There is,
No,
there
not
is,
exactly.
there is a difference, and if you give me a minute. The TRORC forest-based areas closely mirror the green overlay on our map. But if you know that we had forest blocks in green, and that was probably, I would say, 25% or 20% of the town. Have you got that on your, have you got the 2025 plan on your computer? Or does anybody?
The maps,
Yeah,
I have individual maps,
Yeah,
not a full one.
I thought I put the whole town on one map.
Let me look.
Yep, it should be there. It had all the different ones, not to great scale, but
He was saying last time that he thought this was the overlay we were gonna try to do, that they caught most, very close to all of our corridors, what'd you call them?
You're talking about this, Jay?
that's the one.
Yeah.
See the
Yeah.
green?
See the green? Yeah.
The green is
Dark green.
more or less, not perfectly, coordinates with the blue.
Yeah.
But it has a different definition of what you can do with that. So you can do less, as far as development goes, in the new blue versus the old green, if you follow me.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Let's say you're here, between here and Three Corners, and the old post office.
Between here and Three Corners?
Four Corners.
Yep. Yep.
And the old post office, and she's got a little shop in there, and it's not on here that she can do commercial things. Is that grandfather?
Anything that was, it's grandfathered for Act 250 if it preceded the enactment of Act 250, which it probably did, but.
But this wouldn't bother her.
Oh, no, it wouldn't bother any existing business.
Okay,
Nobody's gonna have to undo anything.
thank you.
Or apply for,
Yeah, or apply for a new permit.
well, there's no such thing as applying for a new
Yeah.
permit, because there's no permit.
There's no permits. But I mean, filing a new Act 250 application, they don't have to do that, yeah.
Now,
Permit was a,
within
Term of
the
art.
old green or the new blue areas, you have to be very careful where you build within those zones. Before, you could build where you wanted to build for the most part, unless there was some valuable resource there. But now you have to stay within the road with certain boundaries. And that, let me see if I can find it. Okay, here it is.
locate non-agricultural buildings.
Also, new structures capable of being occupied year-round are not appropriate in interior that is greater than 300 feet from the forest edge in those parts, but non-commercial seasonal camp serving hunters, snowmobilers, and other outdoor recreational users are appropriate, okay? So you gotta be within, say, take this property here, for example. There's not much you can do there. It's more than 300 feet from a road, or if it is, I mean, I don't know what the measure is, but, so you're limited in that respect. Now, don't forget, this is what they're proposing. This isn't what we've adopted. A very important distinction.
That's comfort, actually.
Yeah, but what you should know, essentially what Kevin said is, yeah, you know, you can move things to a degree as long as the overall effect stays within their plan. This is their plan for Heartland. What we're supposed to get in another, by the 10th of this month, is a refined one that would be the Heartland map, such as Steve just showed you. So that's gone. That's no longer part of the plan.
If we go that direction.
Right, if we decided that we want
You kicked it.
What happened?
We can't see anything now.
You back?
Nope. Sounds like bubbling water. Yeah, so I'm unmuted. What's exactly going on? Is the meeting going to continue? Is it continuing? I'm going to leave the meeting and try to come back in right now.
That's the biggest change.
Yeah, that's the biggest change. Yes, definitely, yes, that's a huge change. We pretty much kept the rural residential just around the centers and made the whole rest of the town rural. But what they're suggesting, they've probably done this in more detail, and if you look on the map, what struck me is the neighborhoods that have small parcels now, well, that's what dictated it, and if you look here, big parcels. And so that's really, and we didn't, you know, we just took the easy way out by putting the rural residential here, but is there any reason that, you you go up on, I'll use my house as an example. Right here. I'm right on the edge. That's my property line, so one side I'm rural, but my neighborhood is no different than the bottom of the hill, which on our map was gonna be rural residential.
And I think that especially between the villages, that was where a lot of our conversation was also about housing. And so, we had the conversation we should have been having.
We could have done this, but they sort of did it for us. I mean, I'm kind of glad they did. So I thought that we were being overly restricted. And I think Act 250, people agreed. We were just trying to shut out, make huge sections of town undevelopable. And,
Well, I can see some areas that they turned into rural general or general rural, I don't think are particularly appropriate. They did pick up what we did in our 25 version, where we expanded here, we expanded there, we did some expansion here, I think, but that's the map that you have. So some of it's there, but they've really gone out quite
they have, they've taken sections of where there's some, clusters of housing along roads and make them rural residential. I don't think the terms line up exactly anymore, and so we're getting ahead of ourselves because we don't know what their definition of rural general is, and it won't have any meaning unless and until we do ordinances. The only meaning it's going to have is under Act 250. And if they're Act 250 rural general things, we couldn't stop single or even 4 house subdivisions anywhere under Act 250.
But Dan, I think what you've missed is this document, with these changes, this is going to be reflected in the bylaw.
Yes.
So
If they want to go, we don't want to go that way, then we have to decide that. And it might be that we have to look at it street by street.
But you can't just say that these areas are only for Act 250. These are going to be, I think we're just going to meld it together. Whatever is here in general rural, that's going to reflect in the bylaws.
I agree, it would be very confusing if we don't do that.
Exactly, I think that they should be one-on-one.
Yeah. So when we look at this,
With the exceptions of something that they have, like, I live here, you live here, this is a crazy one. On the entire 3.5 mile length of Weed Road, there are 8 houses. And so to come back over here and to do something like this is they just don't have a feel for it. And that's where we gotta come back and say, wait a minute, this is not appropriate, or this isn't.
well, this is Weed Road here.
This is Weed Road.
Yeah, and that's mostly wood.
You're absolutely right. That's the advantage of having this, because now we can look at it with the Heartland eyes
Right.
and say realistic or not realistic. I think, certainly when that map was designed, it had in mind what maybe a typical building lot or area might be and how does that cluster work and all that. If we see something that just doesn't seem and appear realistic, then we remove it.
And you know the town better than any of us. And so that's why, you know, it's a lot of work for you, but I mean, but you know, at least they've opened the door, you know, unless we want to go back with just what we had on our original town plan. If we do want to open up some areas of town for housing, which is what they're after here, and there's certain areas that we don't want to open that up, you know, and want to exclude from any ordinance, or that any ordinance on rural restrictions would, you know, would include here. That's probably the better way to look at it. You know, but that's what we need to do, and it might take us several meetings to do that.
That's, I think that is what it's at. I mean, like here, this is the big farm field.
Yeah.
So they have that, or space rural,
Rural,
I mean, here.
yeah, rural general, yeah, but what they're saying is,
Huge
yeah.
farm, I mean, that's where we're gonna spend some time.
Yeah.
So now you guys haven't got this one yet.
But remember, they did say elsewhere in their plan, in the regional plan, and elsewhere in our plan, which we could put in, are restrictions about forest edge, preservation of fields, open fields, things like that. So you can look at a big parcel and say, all right, maybe it's in the rural area that somewhere on this property, within the confines of this property, you can build housing. But other sections say you have to put it over here on the edge of the woods, not in the middle of the
Yeah, but
meadow.
you're talking about the blues, not the browns.
No, even in the browns. The things about what they put in there, at least as I understand them, when they were talking about on the forest, let's see, locate non-agricultural buildings next to or within the forest edge instead of an open field to enable new construction to be screened by landscape filters. That doesn't apply just to the blue, it applies to anywhere in town. So what they're saying is, I think Kevin's point is that you can accomplish a lot of what you want to accomplish in terms of keeping the town rural looking. You don't have to, you know, you can have housing in particular areas. Maybe you don't want it anywhere on this parcel, but there wouldn't be any problem putting it up here, right up on the road.
Well, that's your.
That's my opinion.
That's your opinion.
That's right.
But one thing that we all forget is we're assuming that the bylaws are gonna go through.
Yes. That's
The bylaws, if the bylaws don't go through, then a lot of this is gonna be eliminated. Because the people are gonna howl about it, because they're rural areas, and they don't wanna have anything, not, you know, they don't wanna have different.
Anything, but if you're gonna look ahead and I think at a certain point in time, we just have to do what we think is best, hope that the town agrees and that the select board agrees. And, you know, because that's what happened last time. We did the town plan, we did the bylaws. You know, there was a lot of, we went to hearing, at least, you know, the hearing was, I thought, fairly neutral. But when the select board did their hearing, you know, all out broke loose.
Please, I beg you, can I speak?
Sure.
I just have 2 points. This is what
If you
you're
bring
gonna hear.
cookies in next time.
This is what you're gonna hear. I own 100 acres and there's a big field, and you're gonna make me build over here in the dark, not over here in the light. Or you're gonna make me build where I can't drill a well, it's gonna go down 700 feet, where over here I can go down 300 feet and save money. It's gonna be that kind of and not even talking about the fact that they have the freedom to do it.
But when that bridge won't be crossed, so to speak, until there's a discussion about ordinances, because this isn't going to prevent you from doing anything on your property.
Yeah.
You don't need an Act 250 permit to put anything you want on your property, as long as it's residential. So this has no bearing.
So it's just a suggestion that you build up.
Yeah, this is no check on ordinances that may be developed
But
in
you
the
have to make
past.
an ordinance saying, if you've got this, you've got to build over here. I mean,
Yes.
you sound like Queechy.
That's what an ordinance
Are
does.
you gonna, well. I mean,
That's the
that's
argument
going-
for or against
Okay,
ordinances.
What I'm suggesting is that if you try to make that an ordinance, it'll never fly. You'd be going too far. If you want to deal with areas and how they should be dealt with, that's fine. You're gonna start saying you can only use colors over there. And people are gonna say, what is this, Queechee? Because that's what Queechee does. So I think that, look, I think that there should be some kind of ordinances, I really do. But I think that, you're gonna have to be judicial in what you think is, maybe you want somebody to build over there, but it's their land. So it's like, you can't go that, in my opinion, you can't go that far.
Okay.
And if you were gonna go that far, I would not take the position of supporting you. I would take the position of being, I'd say, no, this is too much. Dial it back, that's all.
All right, I assure you that I'm not taking any
Yeah, we're not
position on
taking
where
those
anything can build anywhere. And, you're reading a lot more into what I'm saying than what I'm really
Well,
saying.
the Two Rivers guy, what he was saying, he's talking about 300-foot this and that and this kind of
For
stuff.
Act 250 purposes, for more than 5 building subdivisions of more than 5, or for commercial property. That's the only bearing for this map. At this point,
So
unless
this
and until.
the wording from, that he talked about at the last meeting is not relevant?
No, it's
Only
relevant to Act 250.
250.
Yes.
We
All-
haven't even discussed bylaws.
Yeah, we're not even, all we have to do at this
But you're
point,
gonna take bylaws out of the town plan.
we don't want the town plan to dictate what the bylaws are. We want to give, that if the town decides to go to bylaws, that we don't do something with the Act 250 map, that we've restricted ourselves unnecessarily.
You're
We
gonna
want to
say
leave it open enough.
The town plan is gonna be your roadmap for ordinances, right? You're gonna basically,
It
Not
could be a
it could be,
roadmap.
It could be.
It is
But-
not
but
obligatory.
that's not what the Two Rivers is suggesting. They're not saying it's a roadmap. They're saying you don't want it to be restrictive. You don't want it to hamstring you, but it doesn't dictate anything that you do.
Let me back out into a variation of this thought. And what the problem is that we decided, not decided, we discussed that the bylaws and the town plan should be acted on at the same time. Such that if all of a sudden we have this thin town plan, if you will, and we have a heavy-duty ordinance, and if the ordinance doesn't go, then we're screwed. So that's why we wanted to link the two together. Yes, let's put both aspects of this job on parallel interlocking courses.
Yes, I agree. We should be thinking ahead to the bylaws that we might want to do and make sure that if any of us have something in our heads of what they would want to see in a bylaw, make sure that the town plan doesn't proscribe it.
No, but I'm talking about adoption, okay?
Oh,
I
well,
don't-
we can't combine it. Those are two separate processes.
No, they are two separate processes. So all of a sudden, we get out there and we work on the town plan, and we say, okay, this is the map this is the road map for the town plan. And we put it aside, we don't act on it. And we say, well, let's work on the bylaws. Oh, well, let's make sure that our bylaws agree with the town plan.
No, I think we should work on the town plan first and get something adopted, then we can start in on the bylaw.
Why? Why?
From my humble perspective, the town, I don't mind doing town plan and then bylaws, I'll put that out there. I think that the bylaws should grow out of what we've said in the town plan, not change.
Exactly.
Well, that's fine, so
I'm
I'm not gonna create something completely different than what I proposed over here.
I'm misdirected. I'm saying we finish the town plan, but we don't adopt it. It's there, it's ready to hand in, it's there, okay? Then we say, okay, since it is there, let's go work on the bylaws and make sure that the bylaws finish the town plan, and we finish the bylaws, but we don't adopt them, okay? We do them, they get adopted somehow, almost simultaneously, so everybody can see what it is. That's the only way that you can get around the fact that who the hell knows what voters in Heartland are gonna do.
We can continue the conversation.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't agree with that.
Well, you haven't been on the planning commission for 40 years and see how many failures we've had.
But I guess my point is that if we're having open hearings on the town plan,
Yep.
and that's a chance for citizens of Heartland to have their input, and we say, yep, that's the target we want, then I go and I say, okay, now we want to show how this is going to be sort of implemented. That's not the correct way to say it. And if we all of a sudden come up with something that goes counter to this, in those hearings, they're gonna go, whoa, what are you talking about? This is what we agreed to back here.
We're not doing that. We've got a town plan, that's the plan. And we don't go back and change it, but we write the bylaws to do it, so they're both ready to go almost simultaneously.
So I think that I can write a bylaw after I have a town plan, so that it addresses the town plan in a way that it can be implemented.
my opposition to that would be that we now know from our experience with the town plan that unless and until we get a new town plan, we have the old town plan, which has zero protection.
I got
And
it.
so why shouldn't we get a town plan in place to at least protect us on Act 250, then delve into bylaws, and not, because the bylaws are gonna take a lot more time than the town plan, and we've held up everything. You know, we might not, you know, by the time the process is and we get public input, a year could have gone by, and we have no town plan in the meantime.
Wait a minute, but we have the regional plan. And you told me,
I
you said a
agree.
few minutes ago,
Yeah, we
a
could-
few minutes ago, you said, oh, the regional plan will cover our
Okay,
ass.
all right, if you want to.
Is there a deadline for this, for the new
No,
town?
no deadline.
Because we've adopted the old one.
The old one is in and it's good for 8 years.
Okay.
But it's
So we
not
have
much
7
help.
years.
Huh?
It's not much help.
It's not much help,
Process.
yeah,
Okay, no, but it's
as
not,
we have found out.
it's not December or February?
No,
or-
no,
Okay,
no, we're under no deadline.
got it.
Yeah, the thing is just, you know, just how long we want to be, you know, we can, what Jay's suggesting is that the regional plan can be enough protection for the town
While we're sorting.
while we're sorting this out.
Issues.
There's an argument.
There is an argument, but isn't it a bit just disingenuous to hold hearings and then say, oh, well, we're decided we're not going to. No, go ahead.
No, we let people know what the master plan is. We're gonna work on the town plan, and then we're gonna work on this. So in case,
But then why would we take both of these to town meeting? And that the majority say yes to the town plan and no to the bylaws. You're right back to where you
Yeah,
are.
because you've linked up, you know, which is exactly the feedback we're getting, is that if you link up in people's minds the bylaws and the town plan, they'll never be able to separate that out.
except for one thing, it's the shoulds and the shalls. What we would do, if all of a sudden the town says, no bylaws, then the shalls should stay in place.
And you can always amend a town plan. You can always amend bylaws.
That's where I think, if you had to, you know, we're arguing about scenarios here, and this is an important argument to have, so let's, you know, I don't want to cut it off.
Yeah,
But the,
doesn't have to finish,
right,
it's
but I-
not gonna finish.
right, but I think, you know, Steve's point is that if you're just changing shoulds to shalls, that's a fairly easy amendment, you know, to do. If the bylaws don't fly, if they don't even get out of the gate, you know, which could happen, it happened last time, then we say, oh no, all we've got now is the town plan, and it's only for Act 250, and we have to let the Act 250 people know that this is what our town plan is, and that we do intend it to be enforceable.
And if you remember, we also said that, well, we'll write a new town plan and keep the shalls in it. And as soon as the bylaws are done, we'll
No,
go
no,
back.
I was assuming we were not gonna have bylaws. It's fairly recent that that there's any sentiment for bylaws.
And by the way, I have no inclination to make the bylaws like an HOA.
Like a what?
Homeowners.
Homeowners Association, what color you can paint. No,
What your side yard is.
no, that's nothing whatsoever in there. No.
No, yeah, when we're talking, that's the thing, when you talk zoning and you talk bylaws, that's, whatever the worst case of zoning is, and, you know, you can point to features, and that's what people assume we're doing. And, you know, you just wanna, it's hard and it's frustrating, because we're not doing that, we're not even suggesting doing that. But what we wanna do is keep large-scale industrial things out of rural heartland.
I have a suggestion. What I think you should do is somehow let people know that you're working on the new town plan, and you're also gonna come up with some ordinances, and explain why. Let people know that this is what you're doing, instead of suddenly, oh, next month we're having a hearing on zoning ordinances.
No, we're not, the fact that we're gonna go to ordinances is no secret, and we're gonna publicize that all along the way. Because I think we need ordinances. I think most of the people on this committee think we need ordinances. So that's a starting point. But we're looking at, but in the meantime.
But you need to convince the public,
Yes,
because you need to get the public behind.
right.
So I think what you need to do, it's only a suggestion, is do an occasional interview with a newspaper. You did one recently. Dukeshire wrote a thing, basically talking about Sunnymead, but talking about the need for ordinances in Heartland.
Yeah.
But I think that you should make that part of what you guys do. I think that should be, I think you should let people know that,
Yes, so,
and talk about it more.
okay,
That's all.
that's a good point.
And then they'll get used to it.
Yeah,
And I think you should
I
do them both
agree
at the
with,
same time.
I agree with informing. It's in the agenda that is public that people see maps, town plan, bylaw. They can see it there.
But they don't read it.
But I understand that. What I'm trying to figure out is what other structure in this town has found the magical way to inform the town about, this is what we're talking about now. The listserv.
There used to be a newspaper called Common Ground. It
I know.
was published with a planning committee grant.
Which is an idea, we could talk.
yes.
You have to want to be informed. You can't force people to be informed. That's all well and good, but it takes an investment
But
to
a
be.
part of your point is that we should never be accused of sneaking something in. You know, we have to be upfront. Yes.
We're not, it's being published.
Just a thought.
We're not that creative.
Wouldn't be smart enough to do it.
I used to work in media, so.
All right, I'm gonna try to move
Throw that
this,
out.
move the.
No, that's George.
Oh, I'm sorry, George. Oh, okay. I'm sorry?
Said, what are your thoughts on all this business we're talking about? You haven't said anything, I just wanted to know.
Well, one thought just occurred to me, moving to this kind of dynamic of having had the conversation and then going into the what-if thing. One thing that, in this last discussion, what if town X, 10 miles away, comes up with this similar discussion? And what are you gonna do then? I mean, let's just say that something north of Hanover and so forth. There are towns up there that are having similar discussions. And the usual reaction that I hear with that is, well, they're not Heartland. Well, they are Heartland, but they're doing something that we want. I think this thing is gonna have momentum of that type. And we're gonna be sitting here, you know, strategizing, well, what do we wanna do with Lyme? well, what do we wanna do with X? And have them come down and say, well, how did you get from A to B? Because we're at A, but working on B. So anyway, you hear what I'm saying.
Well, Two Rivers would have some info on that.
That's right, that's one of the things that Two Rivers is in fact.
You will know what
But
towns are doing.
You're absolutely right. Or they may come to us and say, hey, you know, our association, similar association, to the north of here, 40 miles is, I think that's gonna happen, I really do.
All right, so let me see if I can wrap it up, and then, here's what I would propose doing, is that before the next meeting, we, mostly Jay, takes a good look at this and and our town plan, and just see to what extent do we wanna have an overlap of the map and the definitions? Or do we want to go our own direction with our own map and our own, for Act 250 purposes? The second thing that we have to keep in mind is we have to decide, I think we have to decide by next meeting if we're going to do ordinances and the town plan together. We have to decide to do that because we're putting, we have to inform the town that you're not going to see anything until we have both town plan and ordinance. So we have to decide, we've heard the arguments, I think, so by next meeting, I think we have to make a decision. We want to get a town plan out the door and then turn our attention to ordinances, or do we want to keep them?
We're not gonna have information from Two Rivers until the meeting after. We're not gonna be able to do what you do for 2 meetings, not the next meeting, because we don't know what they're gonna tell us
Okay.
at the next
All
meeting.
right, that's a good point. And all right, so I'll amend it. Well, it's not really a motion, but it's just for directional purposes. But it'll guide our discussion with Two Rivers next meeting. In other words, here's what we're wrestling with, do we want to, and let's separate the question about the map overlay, that goes either way, whether we do it as part and parcel of an ordinance or not. So go ahead on that and be ready to report on that next time.
No, I don't wanna come back and say, this is Two River Place, I'm not ready for
So
this.
you'd rather just go back to
I
either this map or the other one?
I wanna see what the new map looks like.
So you think
the
they're
new
changing
one.
this map?
They're changing, well, they told us that it's not final. I don't think there's gonna be significant changes.
Right.
So I don't think, you're not gonna get a thing, this is all moved over here. That's not gonna happen. You're gonna get something awfully close to this. Mark my words on it. All right, but you're right, don't invest too much time until you have the other map.
So the two things you kept talking about next meetings. We need to, as a commission, decide if Brian/Kevin or Brian, whoever's gonna come on the 17th of July to present those updates.
Supposedly it's just fine.
Okay, then the 17th of July. And then our next regularly scheduled meeting is that first Wednesday in August. That gives us at least some time.
Well, we have to warn, it's gonna be a meeting with them, it'll be
That's what, no, I'm saying, have we accepted that as a meeting for us on the
So we have
17th?
we have to decide that we're.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Didn't we agree earlier?
Yeah, I thought we had.
But we're gonna be here.
Yeah.
It's a Thursday.
Correct.
Is that the date they wanted?
They said the 17th.
Okay.
I used to assume you were Wednesday.
I assume it
No.
was too, but
It's the 17th,
do
which
you think
is,
they got it? I mean, how firm does it sound that it was the 17th, not the 16th?
17th,
All right.
that's what he said.
Yeah.
it says 17th.
But could he have
They
plucked,
said-
could he
well,
have
he
plucked
could-
the 17th out of?
You want me to get in touch with him?
Yeah, that would
because he said that they were scheduled for the 10th, as Jay referred to, but they needed it till the 17th. So if they're a Wednesday off, or Wednesday, Thursday off, I'll get in touch with Brian, and I'll communicate with everybody. Does he mean the 16th on the Wednesday, which is our regularly scheduled time? However, I don't know if, I know the commission has a meeting that night.
Oh, that's right.
Um,
You might have been told that.
But wasn't the schedule, back in May or April? The July 17th date?
Do you have that on the calendar already?
I don't.
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
He has on here July 10th,
Because that's also a
and then the, for the
Yeah,
final
well,
review.
that's just conveying information online.
And then he,
Was it Kevin who would have sent it?
Senator's final decision.
oh, wait a minute, he says sent to you.
Yes, sent to us.
Thank you, I just saw that. So if he's gonna send it in theory by the 17th, thinking that that's our next meeting,
Why don't we propose a meeting on the 17th, because that way we cover ourselves if there is a conflict for the room that night. And that's the date they suggested, and it does get our schedule off a little bit, but I think if we warn the meeting, it's, that's not gonna matter to people. Can everybody make it then?
17th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, listen, going on into the future, it's the summertime. I'm not gonna be here for the next couple, I'll be here for some, but I'm gonna miss some. I don't know what anybody else's schedule is for August.
Well, let's take it one meeting at a time.
Well,
I mean, I'm in the same boat, so.
I think it's gonna slip.
All right. Well, that's why I think we have to get this order of things settled.
It's fascinating, this last sequence. I've been working on this project in Kosovo, in the Balkans. It exactly comes up, and for those of you who have experience in Europe and readers in your thought, it's just part of life that you don't do anything in the summer. It's just,
Yeah.
probably not even 5 days a week.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
New York
yeah.
City's like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck
The only
getting
way
a-
they get summer,
good luck getting a-
I would assume there's a lot of places like that, because that's what
I
we
was
need
gonna
as
say,
human beings.
Good luck getting a doctor's appointment in New
Yeah,
York.
yeah. I'll go one tomorrow morning, actually.
Would you still like me to contact Brian for clarification on that date?
Yeah, just double check, and if we have to change it, we can.
You better talk to the town manager and see if there's something else going on.
Well, he was copied on that, Brian's thing.
And then it came to the commission. I don't know if he checks the,
All right, well, so we tentatively have a meeting set.
I will double check to make sure that we can get the room at that time on that day.
Okay. And the focus of that meeting should be to get straight how much we're gonna, among other things, the two things, how much we're gonna conform our town plan to the map and the district designations that are in the regional plan, and then the order of whether we wanna proceed with the town plan, get it done, and then do ordinances, or take up ordinances at the same time when we're almost ready to go in the town plan. Is that a fair way to say what you think we should do?
Steve, if we do reach out to them, will you ask them for a legend for the labels they're using?
Yeah, well, it's here, it says legend.
Well, what I mean is,
Oh, you mean the definition?
Definition.
Yes,
yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, that should be in there, so.
Well, we don't have the definition
No, we don't.
for the terms in this legend.
That's what I want.
And you know what? Doesn't exist yet. So
Well-
maybe that's what's gonna happen in another week or two.
If they could give us that beforehand, so we can understand what it is we're looking at.
Let me ask him that.
Yeah, tell them we're assuming there's gonna be definitions for the legend. Because one of the things we're wrestling with is to go with their legend or with our map and what we've done in our chapter one.
But we can't even make an informed decision, because we know what we mean, we don't know what they mean. You can guess,
No,
but
but he's gonna
Yeah.
distribute it.
Yes.
Well,
I don't
before.
think that he has to change his map to conform with our older map legends. Let him do what he wants.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not suggesting
Okay,
that.
just wanted to make
Doing
sure.
It's mainly so that if we're gonna try to translate ours into those, that we know that the language is.
that we mean the same thing.
Same. All right.
And it's a guess at the moment that in fact, if rural general is really, what was that other buzzword?
Rural resident.
No,
Well, that's what can take place within that area.
resource-based commercial uses.
That's-
Where does
Yes,
that fit in?
yes,
Where can that take place?
yeah, where does that phrase?
So Kevin Geiger sent an email
Recently?
back in May, saying, I would only work with the planning commission on the bylaw after the draft plan is over to the select board. It simply does not work to have two processes in play at the same time in front of the same body.
No problem, I'll work with it.
Well, thanks for sharing that, because that definitely is a consideration, to
And,
say the least.
and don't we coordinate at some point with the
Yes.
select board
Well, yes,
on
that's it.
bylaws?
That's right, so,
That's a generous job.
well.
I'm just bringing this
Next
to a
item on
point
the
of order.
All right, so I think we're set on this for tonight, right?
On that part, yeah.
Did you want to do the history, Jay, of the, there was an item on the agenda, do you have the agenda? Do you have it? Can you find out, I can pull it back, but.
Now, the only other thing that I think that was on, well, we have two other things. One, we don't have to, I can't remember if I put on the
Do you want-
survey
Do
discussion.
you want the agenda?
Yeah, do you have tonight's agenda
Oh,
quickly?
You did.
It just takes me
It's on there.
too long.
It is. I don't think, since this discussion is going on, I think that needs to be discussed at some point.
Okay, agenda.
It does say that you're gonna talk about the history. and the
Yeah,
survey.
can we, I don't think we have to do that.
Brief discussion about the history in our most recent townwide survey and future planning projects. I didn't put that in. so-
I put that in just because it has come up on the list a few times about the survey. The select board had their, a lot of comments
I
about.
think that door opened and
Yeah,
closed.
The survey was well explained
yeah.
at the public
Those
meeting.
guys-
And I don't think there's any sentiment on this board to go outside the survey.
It was well explained.
That's one.
All right, so the next thing was HPC membership, and that's, I've got, we are currently, Dave has resigned, I've met with him, he's informed that he doesn't want to reconsider, he wants to participate in our meetings and help us in any way he can, but that does open up not just a spot on the planning commission, but the chair. I really don't, what we have to talk about is you know, what we're gonna, if we approach the select board now. First of all, does anyone, I guess the first question I'd ask, does anyone here, I'm gonna get to you in a minute. Does anyone here know of anyone that's interested, or you think, or that you would wanna get, to try to get on the commission?
We know of people who are interested. We all know of people who are interested.
You do?
Oh, well, but
Yes.
there's, well, yes, some, yeah.
I mean, to-
Yeah.
Apart from what you're saying is that if we know someone who we might like to have
You might
apply.
have as a college.
Okay.
And so we can, so keep that in mind. And there might be people that have approached the select board that, you know, they could share the names with us. And, you know, we could interview the
Sure.
same way we did with Dave and with John recently. so.
I think you should make you should tell the town manager that if he has people that are on the list, that they really should come in and sit on a meeting here to see what we do, how we
I'll
operate.
contact the town manager, is that okay?
Sure.
I'll contact the town manager, get some input on where we should, what they would like to see us do here, and, what we want.
He can put, he can.
But we're also gonna need, the other thing I wanna discuss, and, it's important to me. I'm only doing this because I was vice chair, and now I'm acting chair because of the resignation, but I don't wanna continue being the sole chair. The direction that I would consider going, and it's only because I think it might help or encourage someone else to step up. I would really like it if someone would be the co-chair and run the meetings, get done. And I would be co-chair, and I would be the public relations person.
You're good at that.
Well,
That was a
well,
good
thank you. Yeah.
statement of Vermont
All right.
standard.
Doesn't mean you're not good at leading the meeting, though.
Yeah, well, I got lucky once, so that I can follow it. But that, that's, because I think it should be the chairman speaking for the planning commission. And so I would take that role, but I don't want all the other stuff that comes with being the chair. So if we had a co-chair, maybe I'm maybe too far out of the box here, but if it was a co-chair who could at least run the meetings, because I hate doing that.
You're good at that.
Well, our past president is, I think, quite a bit better. We wouldn't be here at 8:20 if he was running the meeting. But so if there's anyone who would consider being the chair, would that kind of help, or
Can we, wait on it?
yeah, I don't need a decision, but just, and you can even contact me informally, but I think that any one of us could do that.
Except me.
Well,
I don't want to.
Yeah, if you don't want to do it.
Let me-
All right, well, you're,
Perfectly clear.
all right, so you'll take yourself out of the running now, but the other.
Hey, what happened with, Michelle and what she is doing?
I think that's gotten complicated.
Because of,
Yeah, I think so too.
and
Okay,
probably.
I just wanted to
Yeah,
be
no, I
certain
think
that
she-
that's,
And she's probably right. The other thing is, as I think we all know, that George has been on many, many years. He had agreed at the outset when we would start to tackle the town plan that he would remain on long enough to get the town plan out.
That's a
And
reason.
Jamie's going, you can't leave till we do bylaws and town plan.
He was silent because he knew that, oh, no, I've got 2 more years left on the thing. But I think, but what has to be done on the remaining issues on the town plan are, that we have worked through it, and it's just, so, once we get, I don't think if I heard George correctly, he doesn't want to have 2 vacancies, but we have to be thinking that once we get Dave's position filled, that, George wants to move on, so, is that fair? Okay.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I'm not getting any younger, and the things that I.
Who is?
Have been concerned about for some time is the dynamic within the organization for this group, and its dynamic with the select board. And I've been sort of consciously that latter. It's been a thing that just gnaws at me in a way. I don't like being in places where that happens. And I did agree with David that I would stay until the process of developing the plan was completed. And then, of course, something hit the fan, and I don't know what it was.
Could you
but
say
anyway.
those words again?
Don't approve the plan, we're gonna lose George.
Yeah. Well, yeah, anyway, so that's where it is. It's time for me to move on.
And if George and I talked, and what we agree on is that, you know, one of the things, I agree with them on the breakdown in relations with, and so that's one of the reasons that I would,
The breakdown of the relations.
with the select board and with the town manager. And so you know, I would do whatever I could to try to, you know, to make that a little bit smoother. And the chair wouldn't have to worry about that. So,
Well, now, just to be clear, there's chair and co-chair, no, there's chair and vice chair, and there are co-chairs.
I'm thinking co-chair.
Co-chairs.
Yeah, I want a co-chair, I don't want to be, I mean, I could, if someone wants to be the chair, I mean, I would
You could be
volunteer
the vice
as the
chair.
vice chair to be the communications person, but I think it's better that a chair speak for the board.
What you explained,
Yes.
you explained perfectly.
Okay.
that's what you want to
So I want,
accomplish.
my vision is a co-chair.
Yeah.
And there is precedent
Oh,
for that.
sure.
Do,
But it's straight, you know, we get it, you know, it's very well delineated at the outset, which of the co-chairs is doing what. You know, there's certain
Two people
duties.
could certainly work that out
Do-
and
do-
make it clear to the rest of the commission.
Yeah, so if someone would consider
Yeah.
being the chair to sort of run the meetings, take care of this, you know, making sure this thing's up when you get here, you know, getting it worn, you know, Jay does most of that. But, you know, just to get us through a meeting.
do you have a sense of whether John has a list of names?
I don't think he does.
When a name is put forth in a prior time, does that thing stay in the queue?
I'll talk to him and see if he has anybody, and I can share that with.
Well, because there were two recent names.
Well, there've been, for the vacancies that we filled recently, other people
there was-
expressed interest,
yeah.
and we were, you know, we had.
That's what I wonder, they
But
still,
for every opening that they first move is they have to file with the clerk or town manager that they're interested in the position. That's.
so it doesn't stay open indefinitely.
I don't know what the term is. I guess that's a select board process, not ours.
They come up with the names, they send them to us, we interview them, we get back to them who we want. So far, that process has worked pretty well, and hopefully that it can continue.
Yeah, I don't mean to be anal compulsive here, but we're gonna have to change our bylaws to insert a new category because our bylaws are set up for chair, co-chair.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're gonna have to make a tweak.
Chair, vice chair.
Huh?
Bylaws now says vice chair.
Chair, vice chair, not
You said
co-chair.
co-chair.
Yeah.
Oh,
Co-chair.
yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't think we need to change, you're already using the term.
I'm sorry?
We don't have to change, you're already using the term.
My mistake.
With the transition.
Let's see, just a small item of business, there was a thing today, we were informed today by the district commission that V-Trans has filed a notice of appearance in the old climbing wall.
Right.
With the
Right.
people that are taking that over. And I assume they're there because they want to make sure that there's no traffic problems there, which would be our concern anyway. So I would think that just knowing V-Trans is on the case is fine for us. We have to take a further position or file an appearance.
Can we make an inquiry so that we're certain of what their position is or what they're doing?
Well, we don't know that. All they've done is filed the appearance. They want to be a party. You're notified, all potential parties are notified, but until you file for party status, you don't get included. So we were notified but V-Trans has responded and said, we want to be a party.
So that means they're gonna ask, there's gonna be a hearing?
No, I don't think so.
No.
No, they just want to they want to see the plans in detail about what the traffic thing is going to be.
If we objected to them being
Right,
part of
they
it,
could.
we would have to say something.
Yeah.
We don't
We're
object.
given until
Let them go
July
forward.
something.
Yeah,
Okay,
What's the
can I write in the
final
minutes that we are not taking?
Yes,
Sure.
yes, yeah.
Okay,
That was
somebody,
just a
somebody wanna
point of
make a
information.
motion?
You want me to get the exact title of everything?
We made a motion that,
I'll just say at this time. Anybody want to move that?
Oh, wait, it's not.
What, yeah, what's the label we're putting on this?
I can find it.
It's Arborscape.
Minor notice.
Do you want me to forward it to you?
No, actually, I have it.
Yeah.
Maybe,
It's a minor notice and draft permit for Arborscape.
okay, is there a date on it?
A date,
June 26th,
Is that-
June 26th.
That's the final date, but how about, what's the drop dead date to?
oh, when you're expected to have complained by? Sorry. Was it?
I mean, I don't
I
think.
gotta read through the whole document.
Deed. Oh, please submit. Sorry.
I don't see a date.
Does anybody want to make a motion that we're not going to request a hearing?
Oh, okay, no hearing will be held or a permit,
Because it's a minor project.
Right.
and a permit, on or before, you have to, on or before July 16th, you have to notify the commission of an issue.
Okay, so we just want to let it pass?
Yeah, I think we should just, I don't think we have to.
All right, so no.
We don't have to inform them.
If we're not going to intervene, we don't need a motion.
Okay.
If our status isn't changing.
Do you want me to send you some phrase that just says that we did discuss that and we decided not to?
No, I
You can look it up on there.
can, well.
I would include this
Yes,
and just say we're not gonna move forward with it.
yes, I would put it in the minutes that the planning commission does not plan
Right.
on asking for either.
I think that's-
That's stated, same
That's
way?
true, absolutely.
How big a parcel is that?
Hmm?
How big a parcel is that?
I don't know what the total acre
I
is.
mean, this is it, right?
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
So I wonder if they got all this land, and
Oh,
is it,
yeah. Well, it's gonna be a garden.
is it all in Heartland, or is some of it
No,
going
it's all
into?
in Hart. It's on Route 4.
I know that, what's it turning into?
It's a
Garden
nursery-
center.
Nursery,
Oh,
yeah.
Plant nursery.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, a nursery or,
A kid nursery.
I don't know if it's retail.
They're gonna run on the road.
it's a place for storage of their equipment, right?
Oh, it is, okay. Oh, all right.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
they're in Pomfret, and now they're going to be
Yeah.
using that spot.
Arborscape.
Scape.
Yeah, they're doing,
Comfort
at least
land.
what they've applied for, they're doing very little changing on the buildings or on the land, so it's just.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. They should have
If
minimal,
that is, if it's not a retail business, I can't.
I was gonna say
imagine
they have
it's
minimal
traffic.
effect, right, on
They
the
just want
flow?
to add a shop at the rear and use the interior for the contracting business.
But not a shop, a retail shop, or?
No, it's a landscaping contracting business.
Oh, okay.
Add a shop at the rear
Yeah,
of the
right.
existing building with related parking and storage areas.
I can't believe it would be more than Britain's is already doing.
All right, is there anything else?
That thing is just,
This is no good, we lost it.
yeah, they hung up our.
All right, motion to adjourn,
I sent you all an email
Motion to
about
adjourn.
a possible member.
second to,
Kate seconded.
any opposed?
I was
Meeting
thinking
adjourned.
of that.
I sent you an email about a possible member.